everybody. Welcome to Top 2 Tiers review of Love Live Sunshine. It's several weeks late, but that can't be helped. College, work, and the stuff got in the way. I am lycheepunnet. I'm joined as always by El Prez, and this time we have a returning guest. He joined us for the Love Live Extra cast last time, and he's going by... I'll let him introduce himself.
I'm Beanley.
Yeah, so he's going by Beanley. So, now I know a lot of people have probably been waiting for this cast. I don't know exactly why, but that's okay. So we'll smash straight into it right after I talk very briefly about our ratings. So our ratings are the same as they have always been. I should really just make a video and redirect people to that one. But basically, we've got a rating from good to bad. Good, playable, niche, and bad. So good is a good card that you want to play in your deck because its effects are just really good and they will push you towards winning. They are a thing that draws you towards playing that series' color, and they're just overall a good card. Playable is like cards you play because you need role players. Weiss is a game that goes from level 0 to level 3. You need level 0s, 1s, 2s, and 3s. So playable cards are not necessarily like less important than the good cards, but that's purely because of how Weiss is as a game. These cards are generally very serviceable, but nothing jaw-dropping. Niche cards are cards that go into so-called waifu decks or niche builds. Basically, cards that mean you have to build around them really hard in order to get their benefit, and sometimes the benefit is worth it, a lot of the time it isn't. Like an example would be, say, the Alchemists in Symphogear or any waifu deck in Love Live, really. These cards only go into one deck, and they're generally not cards you see in the meta build. And lastly, bad cards. Bad cards are cards that just... You're worse off for putting them in your deck. These cards are often outclassed, sometimes just really bad, and put you towards losing the game. And you'll definitely see a few examples of that in this set. But every set has its bad cards. Every card game has its bad cards. Feel free to play them anyway and figure out why they're bad. We also have a separate meta rating. Meta is kind of like a special prize we give out to the cards which are the most special in the set, reasons you want to play the set, and basically special snowflake effects that make you want to play this set over, say, Cinderella Girls or To Love Ru or Puyo Puyo or whatever. Anyway, let's jump in. Our color roulette has I've kind of forgotten where we are, so I just kind of decided we're going to start on red, because red has a bunch of good cards. So the first card we're going to talk about is our Zora Jumping Heart, Rico. This is a 002k level 0, well, yeah. It gives 500 power to a character when another character is reversed in battle. So when it... Yes, thank you for the pre-filling, Will. When another character dies, you get to assign 500 power to a character. And that's a nice bonus. The real ability we're here for, though, is the Brainstorm effect. For 1 cost, tap 2 cards, mill 4. For every climax revealed, choose a character in your waiting room added to your hand. Thoughts?
I mean, this is like obviously a good card. You're gonna be playing it. It's gonna do good things. I think this is the only like real Brainstormer, probably. There might be another.
It's the only.
It's the real only blessing.
Yeah, okay. That's like what I mean by Brainstormer. That's real. So like it's the only real Brainstormer. So you're going to have to play it anyways. But on top of that, like, the first effect actually is really awkward. Even though the power gain isn't huge, I mean, it's only 500 power. Sometimes that 500 power, if you have like 2 of these in your back row, is enough to just completely destroy your opponent's combat math going into their turn. And it matters.
Yeah, keep in mind that you can't choose when to assign the combat math. Oh wait, no, this isn't limited. You can just do it whenever. Yeah, no, this is just it's a solid card. It has an application with, I think, the very next card we're going to talk about, given what that card is normally going to do, and I think that's super relevant here.
Yeah, it's a plussing Brainstormer with a nice bonus. Like, I mean, if it was a plussing Brainstormer for a goal of 500, it's still like a good card. It's just this one has a potentially higher ceiling, but your opponent has the ability to play around it pretty easily. Sometimes.
Based on how Love Live is probably going to end up playing, I think that this on reverse effect is fine. I don't think it's
there is a free counter, right? There's a free 2k counter.
No, there is a 1/5 counter.
That's good. It's good enough.
Yeah. I should also, before I forget, I should mention, we were going to have another chap join us on. His name is Rin. But he is somewhere, and I'm not sure where he is. So if he appears halfway through, then he appears halfway through. Anyway, go on.
Yeah, I mean, like, that's a good enough counter. Like, the ability to have playable counters with this kind of effect is enough to, like, completely destroy your opponent sometimes. Like, you get to open up a position where your opponent doesn't have a right play, and you will make them, you'll punish them for no matter what line they make, and that's just always a powerful thing to have access to. I mean, it's like one of the things that made Shauna a playable set way back when was, like, its back row was brutal to deal with. On top of the fact that, like, even if you did kill something, it was clock encores galore.
Shauna.
Or hand encores in Shauna. They wanted a clock
hand
encore. They wanted a clock encore.
Yeah.
So, like, it's
Well,
just a good
anyway.
card to have. You're running
It's the
three,
definition
probably.
of a good card. Like
And there-
it's a backup advantage engine. It's selective. It has an alright effect, and it's splashable into any deck. It goes into every build, no matter what build it is.
And there aren't any like back row cards that really like contradict with that tap 2.
Is Sunshine Neo standard with the rest of Love Live?
No, it is
Yeah.
not.
Okay.
We should mention that Love Live Sunshine is its own set. You cannot play it with the original Love Live generation, and they're like 18 boosters or whatever, which is whatever.
It's a good and a bad thing, because if it's supposed to be treated as an original set, you're going to have, on average, like, probably less specific things going on, which is good.
Yeah, it's a perfectly reasonable deck. Anyway, let's move on to the first level 1 double R we're going to talk about. This is Aozora Jumping Heart, Chico. So this is a 1/04, okay? If your characters are music, this gains the ability to be a level 1 bomb. So this is what I was referring to when I said that when a character is reversed, that's fine. And then it has, when the battle opponent this is reversed, if you have Aozora Jumping Heart Chica, so they were really lazy, and basically they just slapped Aozora Jumping Heart X character onto a lot of climaxes and put those as the climax cards. But this one's a stock soul. When this happens, when you reverse a battle opponent with this in the climaxer, you may choose a character in your waiting room and add it to your hand.
I like actually almost everything about the card. I don't think there's probably no notable non-music characters in the deck, right? Like that you would want to play.
I don't think there's a non-music character of any relevance whatsoever.
I mean,
I just don't think
I
that exists.
doubt it just because. So like that first effect is a gimme, and the fact that it's a gimme and it actually adds 500 power to her body is relevant here. But on top of that, like the climax combo is basically free. You're not gonna not reverse something. Given that it's a level 1 bomb, except against like IMAS if they're running, off-time Makoto, which is, I guess, problematic if this is the only thing that you can do at level 1. But, I mean, it's going to be very reminiscent of playing like Puyo, where if you have the level 1 bomb plus damage, like, it's a little bit better in my mind than the Puyo. Puyo has a higher ceiling, but this is generally going to be more consistent. Like, you just get to, like, kill some things and get some advantage. And with the aforementioned Brainstormer, sometimes you don't even have to sack all of your 1/0 bombs. Some of them will make it to your opponent's next turn, and the fact that it's on a Stock Souls is a huge plus for me.
I really like the fact it's on the stock soul. That's just always a good thing. Okay, I've been messaged by Rin. He won't be back for an hour, so he'll join us in an hour. The fact it's on a stock soul is fine. There are a lot of comparable combos, including some that have just been announced that are on stock souls, and I'm not as hot on them. But that's purely because some of those combos require reversing. In this case, this one also requires reversing, but that's taken care of by the fact that it's a bomb. So if you really need to reverse a level 1, you get to just run in, get your guaranteed advantage, and as an added bonus, you don't even have something for your opponent to reverse on the swing back. So against sets like the new Haruhi, the new Kill la Kill, against Talavru, against Synthro Gear, I could go on. Against these sets, you won't have a target for their plus and combo, which reduces the effectiveness of their climax. Which means either they're going to overswing with their climax, or they're basically going to cycle their climax for a free soul rush by reversing your 1 character or whatever. Additionally, if you are reversing a level 0 with the level 1, that's really good as well, because what happens is you leave a level 1 bomb on the field. And that means even though your opponent gets a free search or whatever, they have to sacrifice a character and a row in order to do that. And in the end, you win out in the tempo game because they had to kill their own character, leaving an empty row, which means you can get free soul damage without having to play that climax, which gives you virtual advantage, gives you a bit more stake in the damage race. And look, basically, level 1 bombs solve issues. But this is a level 1 bomb.
Notably, being 4K power also puts it out of range of most level 0s from just killing it as well, just randomly.
I think so.
So
that's a really good effect. A lot of level 1 bombs.
Yeah, that's super relevant compared to being like the 3K power level 1 bombs that just die to level 0s. They have to commit.
It's not even just that. There's a lot of level 1 bombs recently that some of them haven't seen play because they haven't got good shells. But for example, the Gotchi Usa level 1 bomb is it was pathetically weak. Like, it was tiny because it had a really powerful come and play effect. That one could be killed by level 0s. This one won't be killed by level 0s very often. And I think that's very important.
And the only other level 1 bomb I can think of that has like a comparable power is the Michelle from Terraformers, and that card had a pretty devastating downside that made it almost unusable.
I don't know about devastating because you can just slap what's his name on the field somewhere anyway. In that particular build, you just put the 1/1 somewhere.
Or
but
the back
no, I do
row.
get what you're saying.
But like the fact was, like, that card had a relevant downside that made it basically unsplashable. You couldn't just slam that into any build.
Of course.
So like it was awkward basically running the kind of level 1 bombs that were higher power before. So like the fact that this is high power, has an on reverse combo that will happen because it's a bomb at the very worst case, and it combos with a stock soul. Like, all of these things make this like one of the better ones compared to, like, let's say the 1055 stock soul combos that have to reverse. Like, those are a little bit less impressive, unless you're specifically to Lover, but to Lover gets a pass because the 1/1 back row just saves that deck at level 1.
What do you reckon, Beanley?
The only thing I wish is that, unlike like with the Puyo level 1 bomb, like they actually have a Ricky clone though, and this set suffers the no Ricky clone.
Oh, I mean that's hardly an ailment when more than half the sets in the game, significantly more than half the sets in the game have that. Well, there are some downsides to this card, such as the fact that if you do use it as it's intended, you're going to leave your field open, and even though you are getting, like, even if you charge 3 clean stock, gained 3 hand, and got the stock soul charge, you still haven't finished milling out your deck, so it's very possible your opponent's just going to slam in for 6 damage, and then you might have skipped the rest of level 1, and you've got a bit of an issue there. Like, leaving your field open is an issue that dates back to the very beginnings of Weiss. But at the same time, the upside on this is just so high, and the fact that the bomb is at the very worst just a bomb that solves an issue really, really sells it for me.
The only set where I think this card is like almost actively detrimental would be against like Index, whereas like they don't really care if you reverse their stuff, and half the time you're not gonna be able to do that anyways.
I mean, even against sets like, say, what's a set like, okay, so against non-interactive sets like Puyo Puyo, like Little Busters, these sets that just kind of do their thing, not care about the level 1 field, it's still pretty good because
something to farm on those decks.
You still get your advantage. You still get to compete in the late game.
I'm most concerned playing up against Index here with this kind of combo, just because they usually only have 2 slots on the board, and with Dragon Strike, they can actually just reduce it to 1 unbombable, unreversible slot.
Look, specifically...
Plus 2 levels is super relevant here. The other set is also...
Yellow is specifically a problem, but
there's also
that's not exactly
IMAS. IMAS is another issue for the deck. The Altai Makotos turn off the front side of the combo, and you're almost never going to have enough power to get over the... whatever her name is, because I don't know, the Sweets girl. The Sweets girl. I mean, you're just not killing that if they have off-time Makoto in play. So like there are a couple of decks where this effect is not at its best. But I mean, it's a concession you make to have like one of the more powerful level 1 combos that has been printed recently.
I just think it's very strong. But it does have a lot of relevant downsides that make it, I think, less good than just the typical Recon or the new Railgun combo, or obviously Maguro or Ring. But I still think it's good enough to give it a good.
Yeah, it's definitely a good card, and you're probably I can't imagine the set having a better level 1 combo than this off the top. Like,
Mhm.
just in general.
Yep, no problem. Let's move on to the next card. The hits keep coming. This one's Awazora Jumping Heart, Yo Watanabe. It's 3/2 10k. She's got, when this is placed from hand to stage, you may choose a music character rather, from your discard and add it to your hand. And one cost, ditch a music card from your hand to the waiting room, conveniently. When this attacks, if you have Awazora Jumping Heart U, so the Yo version of this, Yo, you, or whatever, you may pay the cost. If so, deal 1 damage to your opponent and heal 1.
So I'm gonna do what I always do with this kind of profile and say it's like the Akari from Terraformers. Uh, it's actually very, very similar, which is terrifying
Pretty
to me.
pretty much the same effect
So,
if you combine everything.
so Akari was a come and play heal with pay 1, salvage a character, deal 1 damage. So notably, that card nets an extra card over this. But Akari
Hmm.
also had like a mild downside of if you had like 2 or less other characters when it got reversed, you clock yourself when it dies. But that like never happens.
That basically never happened. It's not an actual
It's not an
relevant
actual
thing.
relevant downside. So this card is very similar to Akari. I believe the combos with a gate as well, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So it
Akari is a gate, this is a gate.
so it's
Unlike
almost.
Akari, you can't advance summon this, though.
I don't think you ever really wanted to advance summon Akari though. It just kind of
Yeah,
died.
that's fair enough. It's just a effect.
So it notably has a lot of the same issues that Akari had. It's only 10k power, which leads it to die a lot in combat to most other level 3s, especially early plays. You're not really going to be beating over early plays with this. Um, but on attack burn is a good effect. I actually like come and play salvage. It makes it easier to do multiples of these. Whereas
Absolutely.
Akari being come and play
Collaborating.
heal makes it a little bit more awkward in those circumstances. So,
Hmm.
like overall, like this card is still good. I don't think it's nearly as good as the previous cards that's been spoiled, not even the brainstorm, but like this is a perfectly serviceable finisher.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Look, that's fair enough. I think this card is actively good. It's a card you'd want to play in a lot of sets, simply because the absolute downside of having a 3/2 beater that salvaged another level 3, probably like a utility card or another a climaxless finisher or whatever, that's already very valuable. And then the climax effect itself is, honestly speaking, pretty obscene. Like a friend of mine described it as drain 1, which is a magic term, and that is effectively what you're doing by burning 1 and healing 1. And when I thought about it, that is obscenely powerful. Like, yeah,
It's always off.
yeah,
Extortion.
Yeah.
yeah, pretty much. It's extort. It is just a very powerful effect on baseline, and I think that slamming 3 Yos is going to be an extremely potent end game. I think there's actually there's another. I think it's Hanamaru. Is it Hanamaru who's the come and play shot? Whatever. Yo is, I think, going to be the center of your level 3 game, unless you really, really want to be a hipster. Because not only does it let you run a decent climax, it also just has a good baseline, has a very strong climax combo, and
The
what
odds
can
of
I
you
say?
the odds of you getting more than one turn with this on the board though is going to be very low. So you are still only getting usually that baseline.
Do you reckon? Because you just salvage another Yo and play it. It's the
I
same
mean,
as Milky.
I mean, it's gonna be like again, like the same thing as when you're chaining Akaris together. Like, if it ends up being that way, then you get to set up for the next turn. But
Hmm.
in this case, you're not setting up for the next turn. You're setting up for the current turn.
Hmm.
So like, whereas Akari rewards you for preparing for the current turn, and will set you up for the next turn. This lets you play a little bit looser and helps you get the first turn more easily at the cost of making the second turn harder. You're very unlikely after discarding 3 music characters and using a climax and playing these in the same turn. Like if you're hitting level 3 with 5 cards in your hand, like you'll have only 1 card left.
Look, I mean, hopefully they'll be dead. but
Hopefully they'll be
but
dead, but like 3-1, 3-1, 3-1 isn't like always enough, unfortunately. Or 1
it's
3 1
quite
3 1
solid.
3.
I do agree, but it's like if they're already at 3/2 or whatever, it's comparable I wouldn't. Okay, not comparable, but it is quite possible, well, quite probable that they'll die.
Yeah, it's still quite likely. I mean, depending on where their climaxes are, if they even let's say they do have a money counter, they still need to cancel a 3 twice to not
They
die.
still take the one.
Like they're almost certainly they're going to take the 1 3 times, so they need to just cancel they need to cancel both threes to not die.
Oh no, what I mean is with the with money counter on board.
Oh no, they still take the
because
1,
it's
but I'm
on
assuming
attack.
like they're taking approximately 12 damage in the turn, but the majority of it's in threes.
Hmm.
So threes are roughly 50-50. You're flipping a coin in
Yeah, I
in
do
most
agree.
circumstances,
agree.
right? Which is why I actually think threes are good. When you need to make 1 3 hit, hitting 2 of them, you only usually have like a 25% chance of missing, and that's good enough for me. So like, it's gonna be really good if your opponent's at 3-2, but if they
Hmm.
don't die, your next turn is probably gonna be a mess.
Mm.
I don't think you're gonna have a competent next turn if this was your board. You're just not gonna have anything on board. You're not gonna have any hand because you have to discard for this effect. You're not gonna have probably a climax either. You couldn't really afford to hold climaxes because this card needs you to keep characters in your hand. So
Mm.
there is a notable issue where if you don't kill them, some sets like Two Loveru or Triad Primus or whatever, they can kind of still come back. They can make a second turn happen. This combo does not let you do that.
Yeah, you need to be pretty lucky to do it again, or maybe just have 2 of the climax and somehow don't die. Like, I do agree, but this is a very powerful barrage of attacks, and that's all I really want out of my finishes. You know, non-anti-heal deck anyway.
Yeah, I mean, like as far as a good first strike goes, this is a good first strike, but you're not going to get
I'm
a
just,
second chance really with this combo.
I'm just going to give this a good rating because I think that it is powerful enough at baseline to warrant that rating, which
Mhm.
means all 3 red double R's have gotten a good rating. That's pretty impressive, actually.
I still agree with the good. Like it's still a good card. You're gonna like I
Mm.
can't imagine again like there probably being a better finisher on average in this set than this. I can imagine there being
Yeah,
something with like a higher potential ceiling, but I think as far as baseline goes, heal, burn, salvage is like everything you want to be doing in the game.
Yeah.
exactly.
Like the only alternative that's probably better depending on the circumstance is heal, burn, search, but like
I
what
mean, heal burn search is, yeah, they're both fine.
what
At
are you
late
going to
game, it's
do?
negligible. I would take either. Just gonna call it good and move on is what I'm gonna do. All right. Next card. This is the something Aquarium, right? Koi ni naritai Aquarium Yo Watanabe. It's a 001k. It is a level 0 bomb, and when it dies, you may pay 2. If you do, choose a music character from the waiting room and add it to your hand.
This is similar to these whatchamacallit?
Girlfriend data.
Yeah, the GFB card, right?
Hmm. But that was a
Um,
double R though.
it's also similar to the Akane from Rewrite.
Yeah.
No, wait, not the Akane from. No, is it
Or
Akane?
I don't know.
Never.
The
It's
pay
not.
two
Akane doesn't pay 2.
the pay
It's the
two
girlfriend
is
beta.
the pay two is a
The
better
girlfriend.
effect on bombs that like it's better on characters that happens when they die rather than when they come into play because oftentimes you'll be put in awkward circumstances where you couldn't pay for it when you played it. So I like this profile better compared to. I actually prefer this to pay 1, ditch 1 if you're playing this on turn 2. Like you're almost guaranteed the plus off of it. It's also a bomb, so you're getting the 1-for-1 there. So this is like usually going to be a 2-for-1 for 1 stock. It's gonna cost you 1 stock overall. So
Yeah.
given that you're running Stoxels in this set, like I would be surprised if you're running less than 2 or 3 of these.
Still wouldn't want to pay the 2 on the side, a very good reason, but it's definitely a very strong effect to just have.
Notably, it being salvage is kind of awkward. Um,
Yeah, it means early game you won't want to use it very often, but how often do you want to use it early game anyway?
it also makes it less good late game because you can't use it to set up the current turn. You have to wait a full cycle.
Oh, I mean, sure, but you can just prepare in advance. Like,
Yeah,
thinking a turn or 2 ahead's not too hard.
nah, I'm not saying it's not. It's just like if this is like something that you end up drawing at your max level, like you're not gonna be able to use it this turn for like full efficiency, basically. And when you get to like that kind of point, anyways, like there's probably cheaper, more efficient ways to get your hand set up than this.
Well, this card is a playable cost, in my reckoning, because it's just functional. What do you think, Bainley?
Yeah, playable plus playable
Yeah,
plus.
I'm gonna go
Because there's
plus.
always times where like you don't have the brainstorm and like you have you trigger a climax first turn or whatever.
Yeah, you do want climax outs early. Like having that effect is definitely gravy. I think this card is just fine.
Playable
No
plus
problems.
is reasonable.
Yeah. It should make the deck. I've done a couple draft builds and I've put a couple of these in. It's
Yeah, I would be surprised if we're running less than 2 or 3.
well, there might be just a lot of other cards that are good as well. Next card is Rico Sakaguchi. It's a 1/05k. When this is placed from hand to stage, it gains X power for the turn, where X is 500 times the number of your music characters.
So, given that you have a level 1 bomb, this card is largely going to be outclassed.
I think so, depending on how much you value having an empty space afterwards. But all in all, I don't think this is not a particularly attractive profile. It's always a card you play when you have no other choice. Like English SAO plays this because it doesn't have access to some of the Japanese promos. You've got waifu decks playing this because they're obviously waifu decks, but other than that, you very rarely see this exact profile make a splash anywhere, and it is present in a lot of sets. I honestly think that this card is just a one-shot 7/5 or 7k, and that's all it ever does. That's perfectly fine, but it's also nothing special.
But again,
just playable for me.
It's what makes it comparable to bomb. It comes down, it probably kills something, and then it dies. The issue is, unlike level 1 bombs, it does leave something to reverse. So for certain decks, that leaves a farmable target on board, and that's kind of awkward.
It's important to note that it is a very farmable target. Like 5k is pretty much nothing.
Like, unless you're playing it specifically like the 5/5 stock soul combos, 5k is like you're gonna be farmed. Especially
even
if
the
you're,
5/5 stock soul combos will probably eat you.
like they're bigger, but it's a little bit awkward using those because if you have double back row of brainstormers, then they only get one.
Yeah, I mean,
one
fair
or 2
enough,
rows.
sure.
But like, it's a little bit more awkward with the 5/5 stock soul ones, but with like the gold bar combos or the gate combos level 1, this is gonna get farmed very easily. Osamatsu, for instance, doesn't need to farm you, but like it can.
Yeah, and that's always good. Same with Kantai, same with Railgun. Yeah, no, I'm happy giving this a playable and moving on. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I agree.
Alright.
Playable.
Yo Watanabe. It's a 1/155. This card gets an extra 2k power if you have 3 or more other music characters, and it has Hand Encore. Alright, so this is a 1/175 Hand Encore. Eat your heart out, Angel Beats. I think this card is actually quite functional. Because your main level 1 that you want to actively play multiples of is a red card, you want your secondary attackers to also be red. That's why I think the Rico above warrants any consideration at all. That's why I think Yo Watanabe is a consideration. Because 7/5 is not small. My actual problem with this card, though, and why I don't think it's a snap inclusion, is because the same reason you want to play this card is also the reason that you don't want to play it. If you're bombing multiple rows, you're not going to have 3 or more other music characters, and this is going to be a 1/155 Hand Encore, and that is a extremely below spec, extremely shrug-worthy card. Like, it's nothing you wouldn't even play it in like 2008, let alone 2016. I do not like the fact that if you bomb something, this is going to regress to being a 5/5.
I think just in general, this profile, even if you weren't playing with bombs, is still only on the playable end of the spectrum for me. 1/175s are fine, even with Hand Encore. The majority of my experience with that being playing it in, I guess, no, that was 1/17k, so this is bigger than the ones I'm used to playing with. So it's not that like the profile is bad. It's just generally speaking, you want to be playing it with a lot of counters. If you have good counters, it makes it a lot better. The set doesn't have a 1/02k counter.
I mean, 7/5 is a good number right now because a lot of people still view Triad Primus as one of the decks to beat. That deck rarely ever breaks 7k on offense, So 7.5 is a good number to just be at without any buffs.
Yeah, 7.5 beats Tri-Primus. 7.5 will beat to Loveroo in 2 lanes usually, depending on what's happening on the board. But
Oh, it really depends, but yeah.
yeah, usually 2 lanes. But if you're also triggering this to be 7.5, unless you put another one onto the board too, they probably can get 2 lanes anyways.
And look, Solaru doesn't care. Solaru farms basically every single. They farm against every single set in the game that isn't a straight up wall deck.
And even
I just
then,
think, yeah.
like you can still get 2 Loveroo cards over walls, which is insane.
That's the thing. Yeah, I just think Yo Watanabe is a perfectly serviceable card that is unfortunately anti-synergistic with the best level 1 in red, which
Yeah,
is also its color.
I don't think you end up playing this more than a 2 of if you run it as basically just
really.
level 1 filler.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's not the card that you want to drop stock on, and it's not the kind of card that you really want to be hand-on coring either. In
Like,
general,
I know I have some friends who are pretty high on 1175 hand cores, just as random auxiliary attackers in sets like Monogatari. But when you have like a requirement that requires you to have a full field, that can be really difficult when one of your other best cards is a bomb. So this card is fine in a vacuum, but when you consider it in context, it gets significantly worse. I still think it's playable. I just don't think you can mindlessly slam 3 into a deck and be done with it.
I think playable is where it belongs, but there are notable issues with this. Who's dragging their mic?
That was me.
That
My
was
bad.
you. But yeah, there are notable issues with the card. It's not perfect at level 1 as your secondary attacker. I can see an argument for you throwing it in there, but if you do want to play it, you got to find at least one more level 1 card that's worth playing that isn't a back row.
Well, you've got one in yellow, but we'll get to that.
Luckily, it's hard to say you won't find one. It's just, unfortunately, it's not going to be a rare in color.
Not too much to say about that. This one, Chico Takami, is a 2/1 7k. That is a... Is she smiling that hard? I can't tell. It's a 2/1
She looks
7k. When it's
confused.
placed... I mean, she generally looks confused. I believe that's her entire character, but that's okay. When she is placed from hand to stage, reveal the top card of your library. If it's a level 0 or lower character, put it in your stock. Otherwise, put it back. And when it attacks, if the character opposite this is level 3 or higher, gain 6k for the turn. I believe this is the only level 3 killer in the set. It's been a while since I've gone over the set completely, but...
There's one in blue.
Is there?
Is it the
fair.
Yeah, 2.
Is it the same, or is it if there's a condition meant you get to bottom deck or something?
Yeah, it's the bottom deck.
Okay.
With a climax, yeah.
Oh, with a climax?
Yeah.
No, it also has... oh, wait, that's the really... That's the stupid trio climax effect, right?
Yeah.
So this is the only non-climax reliant. That one's probably non-climax reliant as well, but it probably doesn't get all of its power. I think this one would probably be better than that one then.
This is probably going to be better. If you've ever watched our videos, you know I have huge issues with this archetype in general.
They're fine.
In this case, the fact that it can be free helps me get over that a little bit. Because
It's not often going to be free.
it's not often going to be free, but the fact is, like, one of the issues was that in a lot of circumstances, you have this card in your deck, it's in your hand for whatever reason, and it's a 2/1 do nothing.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
that's really bad. Like, you don't want a 2/1 do nothing. And in modern day deck building, you put this into your deck, and the situation does come up, and it's a 2/1 still can't beat that early play. So there are always issues with this. Like, 13k isn't always big enough. It usually is, but it isn't always big enough, and that does warrant deep consideration as to whether or not this card is really worth playing.
Yeah, absolutely.
On principle, I call these cards niche. I don't think you start with these in a list. I don't think you use them as filler. It's like, if you think that everyone in your meta is playing like 11k early plays, then sure, this card will do work for you.
I have to put this one at playable simply because that is the meta in a lot of places, and that's going to be the meta going forward, especially with the new power-up packs. They're pushing low-power advanced summons that are more in line with 2/2s. Ironically, there's an okay 2/2 in this set, which this card does exactly nothing against. But even with that in mind, I think that this card is still a playable card.
Beanley.
I just don't. I hate how like the way it's worded is that like at level 3 you could still play this technically and like kill over like a level 3 just because like you're higher, being 13k.
If my opponent plays this at level 3, it meant that they didn't have a 2-soul beater to play, and I'm okay with that usually.
Yeah.
So, it's not usually a concern on that side. But yeah, I mean, if your meta, if the meta ends up being like all 11k early plays, then this card is like it warrants a couple slots, maybe 1 or 2. But if people are not playing early plays, i.e., like everyone's on 2 lover or what have you, then this card does remarkably little.
Alright, so let's move on to the next card then. Next card is the level 3 Chico. Something, whatever. It's Aquarium Chico. I'm just going to call them Aquarium cards. It's a 3/2/9/5. If all your characters are music trait, this gains 1k power. Come and play heal. When another music character attacks, this gains 1k for the turn. I can hear your sighs from all the way across the Pacific.
You don't run this, like, at all, ever.
I mean, if you had no other heals,
but you do have a heal. I mean, I guess one argument is that the other heal needs to attack, and if you have one card in deck and you're 3/6,
you've got another heal. That's not that one as well.
Oh no, but if you're a 3/6 with one card in deck, it's an on attack effect. You still heal before you take the refresh burn.
Yeah, that's fair. But you also need a climax for that. There is just another heal, which is also conveniently your advanced summon, albeit a pretty small advanced summon.
That probably makes it better than this by default, to be honest.
Yes, I think so as well.
As a point of reference, this conveniently does get killed by the 2/1 we just mentioned, no matter what.
Pretty much, yeah. Like you need a 2/1 counter in order for this to not completely die. I do think that the spoiler, it's a Hanamaru heal is better than this one simply because it does more things at more points in the game. It's still a playable card. Like it's still a heal.
I'm not saying it's not playable. It's just like there's no reason to ever play it.
Yeah. I'm gonna call it niche because I think that you might need. Oh, I don't think you'll need the 5th heal. Like you're not even gonna run more than 2 or 3 of the Hanamaru. Whatever.
I don't think
it's like
you're running
these type of effects. I just like it's like you expect these in trial decks, level 3s.
No, honestly, I expect less from my trial decks these days.
Oh no, the trial decks nowadays are actually pretty good. Like the Love Live Sunshine trial deck level 3s aren't bad at all, but this one is at that level. Like it's a trial deck level 3. It's not a booster level 3. And that's unfortunate. Anyway, let's go on to the next level 3, Aquarium Rico. He's a 3/2/10k. When this is placed from hand to stage, check the top card of your deck. If it's a music character, deal 1 damage. And when this attacks or is front attacked, you may put the top card of your library in the waiting room. If it's a level 1 or higher character, this gains 2/5 for the turn.
You said there was a give a character shot, right?
I don't actually remember. Like the ruby, I think the ruby is a come and play ping. Like,
if there's a give a character shot, I prefer that effect to this. That's not gonna fail usually, and if it did fail, it's because you did damage.
Yeah, no, the ruby is a come and play shot, so yeah.
So I preferred that to this. The secondary effect is honestly complete garbage. It doesn't matter enough, and if you need something to not get reversed, and this is what you have, like half your deck is gonna be level 0s or climaxes, and those are all misses. Yeah. So this is a 50-50 chance.
The mill effect, people might argue for because you're going through your deck. That's completely random. Like it's not something you can bank on. You're just as likely to mill a climax as you are. Well, that's a lie.
Yeah,
but you can mill a climax. Like that's perfectly possible. You might also mill a non-climax. That's also possible, but it's completely random. Like you can't bank on that. Also, I'd like to contrast the Ruby Direct. That card is both a commonplace shot and it has the ability to manipulate Soul. So I think that card is just straight up better.
Yeah, I mean the mill is fine, but like it's the same reason why milling isn't like always considered a viable win condition like Magic or something. It's because the odds of you actually milling their win condition is so low, and even if it did happen, it's just a fringe case. It's not the average. On average, this card is gonna mill over a character or like a level 0 or less character or climax.
Yeah.
Like that's just what happens.
Also, I'm going to object to the idea that milling someone's win con is difficult, because if you've ever played mill against Dredge, you will know that is a completely false statement.
All right, well, please don't play mill against Dredge. When you mill your opponent's win con that way, then they can just shake your hand and take their win for free.
It's a playable minus card, I think. I still think you could make an argument to put this in a deck. Especially if like anti-damage is a thing. Like that's the real reason Come and Play Pink has any reason to exist, as opposed to cancel burn with soul manipulation. But I do think this card still has a reason to exist.
I personally am going to put it in niche plus. I think the card is good enough that it's not like bad or anything. But I also
niche plus isn't like below playable minus. Niche plus is
it really
like
isn't. It's a different rating.
Yeah. Don't give it niche plus.
Yeah, it's just niche. Screw it. It's just niche. It's not bad. It's not a bad card. I just think fundamentally it's outclassed enough by the shot that I wouldn't warrant putting it into a deck outright. For me, like the only reason why I would consider playing this card is something best girl, but I don't think from a competitive standpoint you would ever really consider this over the 3-2 shot majority of the time. Again, unless your meta is like for some reason all money counters all the time, but even then, like they can't have all the money counters all the time. Like that just doesn't happen.
You'd be surprised, but sure. What do you reckon, Beanley?
I agree with all pros. Which I think it's not bad. It's just like there's better level 3s I'd rather play, or it's like it's like more niche, I guess.
Let's go on then. All right. Wonderful Things, Chico to come. He's a 00500, assist 500, and it's got pay 2, choose a level 0 or lower music character in your waiting room and put it on any slot on the stage. I mean, at face value, this is a perfectly serviceable card that you will probably play in Chico Waifu, but
I'm not paying 2 stock to maybe hit a level 0. Or sorry, no, it's just put 1.
No.
I'm not paying 2 stock to get back my brainstorm.
I don't think I will never use that effect. I don't think, like, you could put 4 of them in every deck I play from now on, and I'm pretty sure that I would still pretty much never use that effect.
Like
it's just such a, like, you skip out on all come and play effects. It's just you get a runner, I guess, but at that point you just use 2 stock to do so.
In this context, like the best thing you can get back is the brainstorm. Like you pay 2 stock to get back a brainstorm that you may not have had in the first place, or you were forced to push it up for whatever reason, and you had this like on the following turn. Regardless, like this effect, it's so narrow that I can't imagine you ever really needing it, and the first effect doesn't warrant its base inclusion into a deck in the first place. I'm not running this card.
There is a pretty much completely superior Dia support as well, but we'll get to that eventually.
This card is, I guess, niche. I mean, fundamentally, like almost all the cards in Love Live end up in niche if they're not playable, just because this set is basically just catered to waifu fans.
Yeah. Don't disagree. Alright. Next, we've got Cute Bow. Yo Watanabe, it's a 0025. When this attack, okay, so it starts off great. It's got a cost.
Wait.
Discard a card from your hand to waiting room, no stock involved. That's pretty great. I like that. And then it gets really bad. When this attacks, if we want to shine Yo, Chico, and Rico, this is a stock soul, is in the climax zone, you may pay that cost. If so, kill one of your opponent's level 0 or lower characters, and this gains 2/5 for the turn. No, like even if you're making a mono second years deck, you already have two good climax combos to use. There's no reason this should ever see play, and if you are playing it, it is because you can't afford those double Rs.
I don't think you're running any climax combos that aren't already the level 1, like 1-0 do good things and 3-2 do other good things. Just in general. So like the fact that this is also tied to a climax is like an instant no.
Yeah, I think that putting this in your deck means you're putting really bad cards in your deck.
This is
And
a bad.
therefore I'm gonna go out of my way to call pretty much all of the trio combos bad. But that's for the other ones is because those cards actually are bad. For this one, it's because even in the second year's only deck, it's completely outclassed.
Yeah, this is just
You'd
bad.
much rather, yeah. You'd rather play the Chico combo and then the Yo combo.
Next up.
Yep. So next card is Diving Yo Watanabe. She's younger in this picture apparently. He's a 0/0 This cannot direct attack.
Right.
I have a big problem with this card. If it was this cannot side attack or all of your characters cannot side attack, that'd be fine. But not being able to direct attack means this is not actually a level 0 for the purposes of playing a level 0 on turn 1. I mean, it is if you go second, but that's a 50-50. You literally can't choose whether you go first or second. When you win the flip, whoever wins goes first. This card, I don't like. I don't like that. It can't take advantage of your opponent having to run things into your bombs. You can't play it turn 1. You can't have it be a token 2 soul beta in the late game. I am very off this card. There are better turn 1 plays. There are better oversizes. The trial deck oversizes, for example, even if they're 3/5 versus 4K. And you definitely don't need the red color fixing. Not with that bomb and not with that brainstorm.
Yeah, I don't see you running this card at all. I feel like almost fundamentally it's almost outclassed by the 0/0 bomb, just because they're filling somewhat similar roles, which is killing their level 0s. And
I mean, this one could also survive a couple turns, but here's the thing.
that's not
If
always
this
a good
survives a
thing.
turn and then your opponent just crashes a 0 in, then suddenly you've lost your ability to attack.
That's definitely one thing. You can't attack
That's
with
all.
it. And like if it's still around when they hit level 1, you just gave them a free farm target as well.
Mm,
So there are a couple of issues with oversizes that are just oversizes these days.
yeah, pretty much.
And this
So
one has
I'm-
enough
I'm
downsides that
actually-
I'm not playing this either.
I'm gonna call this bad. I actually think it's bad. Like, the fact not being able to direct attack is a huge detriment.
I agree. Not being able to side attack is fine. Then you just crash, and that's unfortunate if you didn't want to crash, but not being able to direct attack makes it not a level 0.
I mean, we're speaking for Bailey here. Do you have any opinions on this?
It's not. It could also be like dead late game as well. Just like if your
Yeah.
opponent like leaves their whole level 3 field just empty. And
Yeah, you
just
can't
crashes
use
it.
this as a token 2 soul bait. It's just so many little downsides that all aren't balanced out by its potential upside. Not a fan. Alright. Let's start thumping. Riko Sakaguchi. It's a level 0. It's got assist 500. It's got when your climax is placed in the climax zone, choose a character. That character gains 1k power for the turn, and when the battle opponent of your other character becomes reversed, you may mill a card. Now this is a really above spec level 0. It's got a lot of effects. It's already an Asuna married life, and it's even got more power than Asuna married life. And you have to wonder why that is. And then you see the fact that it costs 1.
Oh, I definitely missed that.
Yeah.
So let's see.
When was the time you last saw a 0/1 card get on the field? And
Komoi?
The answer is Komoe, yes. But
But-
God.
If it wasn't a 0/1, like if it was a 0/0, this is like a slam 3 of. It doesn't tap, so it plays super good with your brainstorm. It conveniently works well with your level 1 combo and getting your bombs over their things, and optional mill is phenomenal. But I am not
I'm not
paying.
paying 1 cost.
I'm not
Hell
paying
no.
1 cost for a frontal 5, even with all
Yeah,
this other
especially-
upside.
They're printing a lot of level 0 killers in recent sets, and this is a prime target for that. I'm not investing one stock into a card that has only medium effect. Like, even in ignoring the whole costed thing, all it is an assist 500 with the married life text on top. The 1k with climax. And that's not even something you care about since your level 1s are bombs. This card in this set, even if it were costless, I would rate as a playable minus or a niche, depending on whether you think it can go outside the Rico waifu deck
I think
or the second year zombie deck.
in context, if it was a 0-0 for me, I would definitely put it in playable. I think it plays really well with the brainstorm, and I actually like being able to get my bombs over their characters. It forces them to sometimes make suboptimal plays on their own turn if they're not running.
That's reasonable. I think that's reasonable. But again, that's a hypothetical world where it doesn't cost one of your precious stock.
In this case, it costs one stock, so I'm unfortunately I'm going to give it a bad. If you're spending stock on this, you're spending stock on something that isn't worth it, and that's a.
This isn't Kamoe. Kamoe was massive. Kamoe made your cards enormous.
It's like plus 1,000, right, on your turn.
Yeah, plus 1k global on your turn.
Yeah.
With assist 500.
It's very special card. I mean, it's only for ESP and traitless. Does it give it the traitless?
It's only for ESP. It doesn't give it the traitless.
Unfortunate. Toma cries every day.
Yeah, which makes no flavor sense, but that's okay.
That's
like
fine.
even Rico is confused as to why she's on the field. Like if you ever see this on the field, like she's just why am I here?
Yeah, I'm giving it a bad. Beanley.
Bad, yeah. Just because the one cost is such a turn off.
Yeah, I know, right? It's not even like a 1/1 with this effect you would never play. A 0/1, no. Maybe if it gave 1,000 power, it might be a consideration, but no. Even then,
I mean,
I
the most
really
awkward
not.
thing about having costed level zeros is that they also don't count for your level 0 count.
Exactly, they are not part of your level 0 count, and you have to play a higher level 0 count to compensate. It's just, yeah. Anyway, let's move on. Next card, Daisuki Datara Daijobu, Chika Takami. He's a 1045. When this is placed in hand stage, give a music character 1/5 for the turn.
I think this is just worse than the 105k that gets plus 500 for every music character in general, especially because you don't need the power at level 1 otherwise.
You can definitely do better than this. Like, I don't see a reason to play this card unless you are, again, playing the waifu deck.
This gets a niche.
I'm gonna just put this. I'm gonna say this. I don't know if I can say this now because the videos are in whatever order, but a lot of cards here are viable in waifu decks. Waifu decks are very, very rarely meta. Like, I can only think of off the top of my head, like 3 instances where that might be the case. And even then, it's all disputable.
Which waifu decks?
Honoka and Yukiko are the ones that come to mind.
Sure, I would say Yukiko is probably the strongest P3 build at the moment.
The Persona build, only because it has top end, that's all. Yeah, no, I don't think this card sees play anyway. I'm gonna go niche.
Yep.
Alright.
Alright, this next card. Good things about Uchiura. What's Uchiura? Is that like her shop or something?
Yeah, that's her family shop, I think.
Oh, okay, sure. When you use the backup of this, mill 3 and backup 2k. It's pretty much a vanilla backup.
It's fine. I mean, like, milling yourself 3 is not terrible.
It's not good either. Like, it can sometimes be good, but oftentimes it is just the worst.
Like, yeah, sometimes it just doesn't do anything, and in the worst case, you mill through climaxes and you cry.
Basically, every time Compass would succeed, this card would be bad. Think of it like that.
Notably, this is mandatory, and that's awkward.
Yeah, absolutely. If it was optional, it'd be great. It'd be a 2k counter with upside, but they don't print those, so yeah, this is just this is a playable card if you need a 1/1 counter. I don't think you do, because most of your level 1s are either pathetically small or bombs.
If you play this, I would like you to keep track of how many times it fucked you.
Yeah.
That is the only appropriate word for what happens when this card mills a climax.
I have milled 3 climaxes with the LB version of this before. It's not a thing that will never happen. It's definitely happened.
Like, you just got to keep a separate tally for like the number of times you used it versus the number of times you got screwed. But no, it's playable. Like, if you need a 2K counter, this is not a bad one to have.
I don't hate it. It's playable.
Yep.
Alright. Beach Return to Quietness, Riko Sakaguchi. When this attacks, you deal 3 or more other music characters against 2k for the turn. So this is already worse than the Yo. Like, why? And then you see why. 1 cost. When this attacks, if you the stock soul for the second years is in the climax zone, you may pay cost. If so, choose level 1 or lower character in your opponent's front row and put it in the waiting room, and this gains an additional 2k power for the turn.
So it's 9/5?
Yeah, it'll be 9/5. And you'll have killed one of your opponent's characters.
And probably another one.
Yeah, probably. Is that worth the 1 cost for a 5/5?
It's not worth paying 2 stock.
Yeah, no, I don't think it is. Like, this will add up to 2 stock for a card that dies to most anything in a set without oversized counters, and your opponent will prioritize this because it's a card which will be threatening if left on the board. So it's gonna die.
Oh yeah, it's just gonna die. I don't think you play this, and I'm gonna continue on my current role of if it's on a climax and it's in red, it's probably bad. You probably should not play it. It will probably make your deck worse.
We've covered the 2 good climaxes in red, so I don't think any climax combo pieces will be viable unless they also have some other broken effect. There is one of those in this set, actually, but we'll get to that.
I'm in a point also where like this card also doesn't even fulfill waifu for me because it requires 2 other characters. So unless you're like equally into all 3, at which point like I don't know if you understand what waifu means.
I mean, Rin likes Chico and Yo, so maybe he just wants a second year's deck. Anyway, let's go on. I'm calling that card bad because you have to play a bad climax for it to be any better than the Yo. Next card, Yume no Tobida. That means Door to Dreams, I'm pretty sure. It's a 2/7k. If all your characters are music, it's a 9k, so it's a 2/9k. When Extended Hand is placed in your climax zone, and this is in your front row, choose up to 1 cost 0 or lower character in your waiting room and put it on any slot on the stage, and this gains 2k for the turn.
So notably, there have been 1 good level 1 cost 0 character printed in red so far that we've gone over, and that was the double rare. So
there are a couple good costless level 1 support and attackers.
Yes.
Like, there are some fine cards coming up, but for the most part, it's a combo with 2 soul, by the way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That makes it a lot
2/1
more fun, actually.
It's a lot what?
A lot more fun. I'm not saying it's
Fun?
better, but I'm saying it's a lot more fun.
Okay, man, that's your prerogative. I think this card is still pretty mediocre.
I'm still on the if it's a climax combo and it's not better than the 1/0 or the 3/2, it is actively bad.
Yeah, like if I wanted to play a 2/1 9k whatever, I would play the Ruby, which we'll talk about eventually.
If I wanted to get free characters and slam 2 souls, I'd play Roaches.
Yeah, no, not a fan of this one. And it all comes back to Roaches with you.
I mean, there's like 3 decks that I play, so there's like only so much I can complain about. Like, if it's not Roaches, Terraformers, or 2 Loveru, like, what else do I have for comparison? Oh, I guess Index.
Look, that's perfectly reasonable, and that's the reason I'm around. But anyway, let's move on. I'm calling that card bad because it combos with a card you don't want to play.
I mean, everything
It's a
comes back to,
wannabe Dodai.
it's not even wannabe Dodai.
Like, I look at this card and I compare it to the Index 1/0 that the Railgun 1/0 I recently looked at, and it's like, come on, man. You're not even trying anymore. You know, this can't even get the 0/1 support, which means this can't even go well with the waifu deck. That's like the worst.
Man, non-bows.
It can get the 1/0 Rico support we're going to talk about in a bit, but my god. Anyway. Disappearance of the target, Yo Watanabe. This is a 2/2/7/5 that gains 500 for each other music character. It's a 9/5 basically, and it's got tap 2 of your music characters. This gains 2/5 for the turn, going up to 12k.
There's an early play field, right?
It's actually, yeah, there is, but that sits at 9/5 and can't get any bigger at all. This is actually kind of good.
This is fine. I
Yeah,
mean,
like I don't see an issue with this card.
two twos that are like reasonably large are fine. I personally don't think it's good enough for me to want to actually play it. But
No.
notably, it being a 2/2 means that you can beat up some of the like the 2/1 anti-level bombs basically, and still have a 2-soul beater. I don't think you need this, and the early play heals
Mm-hmm.
and sits at the
This card
same
is
power
kind
on
of like
defense.
I don't hate this card. I think it actually like you could definitely play this, and I wouldn't question you too much about it. That's what I think. Like I think this gets a solid playable rating actually.
This gets a playable minus for me.
Yeah, fair enough. It's a 12 count offense if that's what you desire, and I think that's got some value to it, even though it is a 2-cost card.
I mean, it's still a 2-soul beater too. Like 2-soul beaters, good. Like in general, they're just good.
Yeah, like that's the advantage this card has over the 2/1 Chico, which would be bigger against the level 3 if that's what you were trying to do.
Notably, it's only bigger by like 1,000 power.
Yeah.
But you also might have gotten that for free.
Yeah,
It's the reveal
yes,
top.
yes, you are correct. 13k, that's right.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on. Wonderful things. Rico Sakaguchi, we've gone to commons, so we can start speeding it up a little. This activates up to twice a turn. When a Chica is placed from hand to stage, this gains 1/5 for the turn, up to twice.
Yeah, you're not playing this.
Niche minus.
Is it even niche? She checks
Yeah,
for
yeah.
the other name. She checks for a different character. She doesn't
I'm
check
aware,
herself.
Yeah, but the second year's deck is probably a thing. Like there are
But-
people who like
God damn it.
out of every Love Live Sunshine fan out there, there has to be someone whose top 3 are like Yo, Chica, and Rico.
They need
Like,
to
Rin likes
relearn
Yo
what the
and Chica.
fundamental point of what a waifu deck is supposed to be. One
Yeah,
character.
but not necessarily. It can be a combination. Like the Yukiko deck plays Chies.
That's because there's not enough playable Yukikos. That's
Well, there
not out
actually
of
are.
choice.
There actually are. The Chie is just a better card to play in that spot.
Are you talking about the 1-0 memory kicker?
No, I'm talking about the
No.
0/0 Chie and Yukata.
Oh, I mean, that card is like fine.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Anyway.
I don't know. Fundamental misunderstanding. Oh, I don't even know why I cleared the rating. The next card is vanilla.
It is no. That one was niche. This one is bad.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Okay. So
I'm
the
not
reason
even-
this Chica is bad is because of the very next card, which does everything this Chica does except pretty much better. Like better in maybe 90% of scenarios.
Whoops.
And let's move on to the next card, eh? Let's start here. Chico Takami. It's a 3/5, and when it's placed from hand to stage, check the top card of your deck. If it's not a music character, put that card into clock.
Yeah, so this is just in general going to be better. At level 0, it's better. Clocking yourself is not a bad thing. Although, this deck might want to hit level 1 second. Actually, it definitely wants to hit level 1 second. Because
I mean, if you want it, yeah, if you want 2/2/2, like if you hit level 1 first, then you just, yeah, no, I guess you're right, it does.
this deck definitely wants to hit level 1 second, so this downside is relevant in context.
Look, fair enough. That's still not a downside that's relevant most of the time.
Notably, it is just checking music character. I don't remember if there are any playable events. I know each color has
Yeah,
like...
there are a few playable events. There's a stupid meme event, and then there's
Well,
actual solid events.
You know me and my meme events, but
We'll get to the meme event, don't worry.
in context, if you're running events, you're probably not running more than 4 total in the deck, which means you're looking at 38 misses total. So
Probably,
Probably
yeah,
closer to-
somewhere around that.
probably closer to 30 after you've taken your first turn plus mulligans.
30, yeah,
30
well,
hits, 30 hits. 30 hits in like,
hitting,
yeah, 30 hits in like a 42 card deck.
which is like a 70-80% chance of it being fine, and sometimes the damage won't even matter.
Yeah.
Like, yeah,
If you want a
damage
beater-
has a fluctuating value.
If you want to just a beater with no utility, because this doesn't really have it, unless like you're at 0-6 after clocking and you really needed that level, and you're just praying, this is gonna probably be one of your beaters of choice.
Mm-hmm.
So it gets the playable rating.
Remember when this effect was like higher rarity?
Yes.
Yeah, man, it was highly sought after.
Something Melty? Does Melty have this?
No, Melty is not fortunate enough to have a card like this.
Poor Melty. I don't think KOF
Instead,
has something like this either.
Instead, you have Shikitono. Like, KOF has
Oh,
a 3/5
yo, I just
that's
realized that
great.
Brainstorm is strictly better than my KOF Brainstorm.
No, it's not, because it only gets music traits.
I thought it got any character.
No, music traits only.
Really?
I can go back and check.
I'm looking right now.
Oh, no, it's Rest 2. IG is tap 1.
Yeah, this is Rest 2. Get any character in your waiting room.
Yeah, okay, sure, but IG taps himself only.
This is true. And he's also a ninja.
Which is a big
He has
difference.
the ninja trait, I think.
Yeah.
He's like ninja weapon or something, so
He's better
Ash.
for Ash, basically. Anyway.
That entire
Look,
deck might as well read, let's make Ash huge.
No more memes. Let's go. More dreams. I'm not saying that song name again. Riko Sakaguchi. It's a 1025. Assist 500. It's got the ability tap 2 characters. Choose a character, and that character gains the ability when a level 1 or higher battle opponent of this is reversed. Choose a character in your waiting room and add it to hand, and discard a card from hand to waiting room.
This card didn't play badly with the Brainstorm in the sense that they both tap 2. I would be inclined to say that this card was probably just slightly better than playable minus.
This card is fine if you really need to discard a climax, but that's about all, because I think it's worth playing 1 simply because the ability to keep salvaging even after your climax combo turn is something that's very understated and something that you do want to have. So having 1 around is fine, because your back row is probably just going to be a Brainstorm and a support anyway. The fact it's not costed is really good, and the fact that it's in the color that you want to play is also quite good. I actually have one of these in my test build, and I think it's a pretty worthwhile inclusion. And I like it at at 1.
I think a 1 of is fine.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm running the second copy ever.
No,
But
it seems fine to me.
I mean, like, running the second copy in a game like Weiss is very strange just because of how easy it is to get specific cards to your hand.
Mm-hmm.
It's a vanilla!
Yeah, see, this card is bad because of the next card we're about to talk about. This is getting to become a recurring theme.
Also,
And-
it's a 100-card booster with, like, 7 vanillas.
Look, the next card is going to be the exact same character with the exact same level and power. But see, it's better, because what it has is this can't side attack, and when this attacks, if you have 2 or more other Chica or Ricos, so red cards that aren't her, this gains 2k for the turn. So it's a 1075 for a turn. What do you think?
I actually think this is better than the 105k that goes up to 7.5.
I just think this card's fine.
Yeah.
What about you, Binley?
Yeah, well, it's fortunately like the effect is good for Chica and Rico are relevant cards for the deck.
Pretty
so,
much.
yeah.
Like, Rico is the Brainstorm, Chica's the Bomb, so this is going to be a 7.5.
Almost always.
Pretty much, yeah.
Only on attack is unfortunate, but that makes sense in context. It being 5.5 base is pretty solid, meaning that it's not just free on defense, because it's going to be, like, maybe it's 6k with, like, a 1 frontal 500, and then you also might be running a counter, so you can, like, probably make it out of certain characters' ranges, so it's better than being 7k.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is far better than the 1-0 gets X times 500.
I actually think this is just straight playable. It's a card that I'd be looking to test at the very least.
I would probably consider this heavily, like, in a mono red build for sure. Just
Yeah,
'cause,
absolutely.
like, it's probably the best filler level 1 card that we've seen.
Mm-hmm. All right. So, if you disagree with us at any point, Beanley, just shout at us. We are.
Okay.
Everyone walk together. Yo, Watanabe. It's 2 on 10k. So it's gonna have a devastating downside. So bad. At the start of your climax phase, reveal the top card of your library. If it's a level 0 or lower character, randomly discard a card from your hand to the way. I haven't seen that phrase in Weiss. Randomly discard a card.
I'm trying to remember what cards in Magic make you randomly discard just one card.
Him to I mean, him to
Gamble.
Turek is still. Yeah, Gamble. Yeah, Gamble does, but Gamble is also a tutor, and Gamble doesn't make you discard one card. It makes you search. What deck is it played in other than
Lands is
Life
it.
from the Loam deck? Like Life from the Loam decks are the only decks that played it.
Not even Life from the Loam decks. It's specifically lands. Because
Yeah,
like
okay,
if you're
lands
playing 4-color Loam, you're running enough not lands cards that like that's
well,
bad.
4-color Loam is such a bad name. That's like a aggro-y deck, Knight of the Reliquary deck.
But it's a 4 Chalice, 4 Knight, 4 Bob, 4 Goyf, 4 Lily, like 2
If you
Loam
guys
deck.
haven't figured it out, this card sucks, so we don't want to talk about it.
Don't play it.
I agree. It's a bad
As a
card that
point of
has no
reference,
reason.
for 1 more stock and 500 less power, you could have a 2-soul beater too. That doesn't just fuck you on your upkeep.
You could have a hexproof 2-soul beater.
Oh
you
wait,
could
sorry.
have a 2-soul
This is
beater that
climax
gets to
phase.
be
This can fuck you the turn you play it.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you have no cards in hand,
Then you're probably losing.
no cards in hand. Yeah.
You know what the worst
No,
part about
don't
this
do it.
is? You know what the worst?
Don't do it.
Let's say you like the only card in your hand was the climax you wanted to play.
Oh my god, yeah, that's really depressing. Oh man,
Oh god.
you didn't realize, yeah, no, that supersedes your chance to play a climax. Doesn't? Let me check that actually. I don't know.
This is the start of your climax phase. This ability happens before you get to put a climax into play.
Oh my god, yeah, you're correct. You are correct, yeah. You don't get the time. Oh wow. Alright, look, this card is bad. We don't need to talk about it anymore.
For anyone who tries it, keep a count of how many times it screws you.
That wouldn't. I don't want to recommend anyone play that card in the deck though. Sparkling Brilliance, Chico Takami, 2/8K. So this is another one with climax combo with the trio stock soul. That already gives it a bad rating, but whatever. Let's read it anyway. If you have 3 or more music characters, this is a 9K, gains 1K power, and when this attacks, if you have the climax in the climax zone, you may pay 1, discard a card from your hand to the waiting room. If you do, salvage 2, this gets an additional 10K, additional 1K power, not 10K.
So notably,
It goes to 10K.
this is supposed to play well with the 2. Oh no, it doesn't because that one gets cost zeros. God damn it.
Yeah, no, this card is like, yeah. Nah,
No,
whatever.
This card is bad. The next
Like
card
it has some fine text on it that would be good in a TD. Like they should have put this in the TD. It would have been fine.
conveniently the next card is a vanilla.
Yeah, no, it's bad. Big buy the card before it. Alright, let's
Events.
1/1. Honest words. Choose a music character in your waiting room and add it to hand. You may discard a card from your hand to the waiting room. If you do, choose a character. That character gains 4K power for the turn. Don't use that second effect. I don't recommend the first effect either. Just don't play this card. You don't have any particularly pressing on reverse effects that aren't also on your bomb. I mean, I guess you do in blue. The
If you
card is
need the fixing,
Mhm.
but I don't think, or it's not even fixing. I'm not saying fixing. If you need like the hand
this
fixing,
card. Yeah, like what you should do is instead of regarding this as a 1/1, salvage 1, discard 1, give 4K, regard it as a 1/1, salvage 1
that's
that
it.
can sometimes
No,
give
that's
you
it.
a discard. Like you can sometimes discard a climax with this. That's what this card actually does.
I mean, my opinion of this is like the only reason why Pendant gets played is because it's Pendant. You don't really see this kind of effect being played very often in other sets for the first half, and the back half
Well,
doesn't warrant being a card.
Yeah, well, like you don't see the specific search or salvage 1. You'll see the specific search or salvage 2, ditch 1. But this specific card, I get what they're trying to do. I get they're trying to give you options. This is a modal card. But in reality, when one of the modes sucks, it stops being a modal card and just becomes an underpowered card. Because when you design a modal card, you have to underpower it in order to make the modal part work. And unfortunately, that's what's happened.
I mean, you just have to make each mode relevant but it's not in this case.
Look, a 1/1 salvage is like not the
Fine.
worst thing in the world.
I
That
mean,
can sometimes discard a card.
in this case, it still gets a playable for me because like the 1/1 salvage is fine, but
Yeah,
it's
sure, I
not
guess.
something I'm starting in a list, and it's not something that I'm often going to be using the full effect of. That's the way I see
slam
it.
this on your level 3 cannon and then go to town with your 14k or however big she is. Anyway, let's move on to the more interesting. Oh, actually, Bailey, do you have anything to say about this?
I just wish it was counter speed. That's all.
That would be insane, though.
Would it? That would make it overspec, but not really by that much.
Part of
You'd
the
be
reason why I
going
like it
mate
is because
to-
the extra discard means that if you're about to refresh, you can also just use it as like a slam. Let's not refresh with this climax in my hand.
Actually, never mind. This would just be overspec as a counter. It would just be a
It's also
1/1
it's a
4K
1/1.
count.
Well,
That
it's
fixes
not
your
overspec
hand.
because it costs you 2 cards, right? So
No, it doesn't, because you salvage one.
yeah, but you use this and then you discard another card.
Yeah, but then you discard the card you salvaged.
Oh sure, I
So
mean I
all
guess
it
that
is-
one card you discard turned into a 4K counter.
Exactly. So basically, it's a filter counter for 4K, which would be really overspec. So no,
It would have
it
to
would be
like a
fine as a
1/2
counter, but I don't know what you're going to be countering.
All right,
Anyway, next card. This is the stupid card that you've been waiting for.
I'm all about the
Yoki-Soba.
memes.
Yeah, so this is Yoki-Soba, and it's a 3/2 counter. Choose one of your characters. That character gains 2/5 power. Mill the top card of your deck. If it's a level 1 or higher card, deal 5 damage.
I can't justify playing this even in a meme deck.
I think my beginning build has 2 of it in there because I hate everybody.
Also, she spelled yo. with
Well,
a-
that's her name. That's her name.
But I think the yo here is supposed to be for Yoki-Soba. That's why there's no U.
See, the thing with the U. the
Or
thing
is
with
it just
the U
because
that
it's supposed to be the line over the O?
I mean, the U, yeah, it's supposed to have the line of the O. The U is a phonetic thing that's added to Romaji, the English pronunciation of Japanese words,
Sure.
in order to let English people pronounce things correctly because they're phonetically very different.
This is fair.
So it is not incorrect to
But,
just be Yoki-Soba.
The artwork looks like Amurai's.
Yes.
Have you watched Love Live Sunshine?
No.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you don't know what this is, then I'm very confused. Like, I assume that it is just supposed to be omelet.
I mean, I see
Soba.
noodles. It's noodles. There are noodles on
Yeah,
this card.
it's omelet rice, but with soba, right? Because
That's what it looks like.
that's all it is, right? And it's got yo written there with a smiley face.
Yo.
Yeah,
Um.
I kind of like this character actually. She's really upbeat with her food dressing.
I don't know how I feel about like a 3/2/2/5 counter that usually just reads mill your opponent like anywhere from 1 to 5. Rarely.
Oh look, someone's gonna play it and it's gonna burn their opponent for 5, and they'll forever be a advocate of this card because of results-based thinking. I think this card is playable, like
I mean,
it is.
if we're using results-oriented thinking, Manaless Dredge is the best post-board deck I've ever played. I'm 5 and 6 in post-board games with Manaless Dredge.
What we need. Ignoring his bragging rights. Good job, by the way. This card.
I don't know
just
if that has
seeing
anything to do with
just
me.
seeing it in your waiting room. If your opponent's the sort of player who looks at your waiting room, as they like good players do that, and they see this card, they will start playing around it.
I
And that
don't.
is reason enough for me to play this sort of card.
I would
Just to make them play around it.
I would instantly assume my opponent doesn't know what they're doing, and I just say, if you have it and it kills me, that's fine. It happened.
Really? I don't think it's a bad card at all. I think it's fine.
I
Like,
mean,
it's actually
what
undercosted. You can just use it as a 3/2 burn 5 event if
The,
that's what you
the
have
thing
to.
I'm playing around here is the 2/5 counter if I'm playing around anything. If I
I do
need to
agree.
reverse something.
Like, the burn 5 is whatever. You'll die if that happens.
Like-
but given the chance to play around it, you would.
Like, if I have to play around it, then sure. Like, if it doesn't cost me anything to play around it, then I'm going to play around it. But for the most part, like, if my optimal line involves not playing around this card that exists, I am not playing around this card. Like, using the same points, like, for all the things that check level 1 or higher, right? It's the same issue. Roughly 50-50 at flipping it, right? So that's already a coin flip to make this effect happen.
Yeah.
Right? That's the first part. So you have the coin flip to maybe burn 5. And then your opponent needs to be in a situation where the burn 5 will actually do something.
I do agree. I still don't think this is a bad card.
There's a 3/2 Dia in this set. So, like, you can do some cheesy things with it.
Stupid meme nonsense.
I mean, you could also just play it on your own turn as a burn 5 sometimes after scrying or something. There's some scry effects that I saw. I think they exist. It might be imagined.
Yeah, there's this defensive scry effect where you can like look at the top card and you can sit there pondering, do I leave it on top or not? Ooh, maybe I should put it here because I'm gonna play the counter and he's gonna run straight into.
Some dank
like
memes.
You can play these stupid mind games. That's definitely something you can do.
I don't know. Like,
but
the way that Weiss ends up playing out is that like the mind games just end up being less impressive, just because ultimately your opponent is almost always forced to play into them anyways. So it's less like a mind game and more make your opponent have it most of the time. It's like if they have it and you lose because of it, that's Weiss. If they didn't have it and you still don't win because of it, like that's also Weiss. Like Weiss as a game doesn't offer you a lot of opportunity to play around this kind of card, really.
Well, that's fair. I've decided that if I can just trash on Pumpkin all day, I can't actually advocate this card.
Pumpkin's also a burn 5.
Just contradicts things. This card I still think is playable simply because it can change the way your opponent plays, and I find that valuable.
I would call it niche. Actually, this is the niche plus. Niche plus belongs here. This gets the niche plus. This is where it belongs, right? This is not the card that you're like thinking that I want to be playing with in a deck, nor is it like a filler card. This is like, this card seems like it can be interesting, and when you're playing it, sometimes you can have potentially rewarding consequences of your strange deck building decisions.
Look, I think that's fair. And we should definitely move on to the next color before this becomes a 2-hour video.
So this is it for red. Next up is blue. There's only 3 colors, right? There's no... Well, green would have been before red.
Yeah, there's no green.
Alright, so we'll be right back.